Yeah, so what are we talking about right now?
So this is another thing that's up on YouTube of mine.
What is it called?
It's called Styles of Governance, and these are these are speeches and recordings and news clips about people who died or apparently murdered either at the hands of the police or by people who were involved in a march where we had Nazis and we had white supremacists. And then it's tempered on the other side of it, I think, uh, by some of our politicians and how they handled it. And obviously, Maya Angelou is not a politician; she's a poet, and she kind of sets the whole thing up and talks about having Barack Obama in the White House and what that was like for the country. Uh, and then we kind of go to Martin Luther King, who many, many, many years ago talked about, you know, I have a dream. I think we all know that speech, and if you don't know it, you should go look and listen to it. And then it kind of breaks down into a number of incidents where black men are being murdered, some by the police, some in other circumstances, and how Bobby Kennedy handled it because Bobby Kennedy's brother was murdered.
Well, let's get the. So, who are some of the names of the men who were murdered?
Well, we have the original one was Rodney King. That's can't why can't we all just get along? Why can't we just get along? And that was the first one that was on tape. We actually saw this man being beaten.
Yeah, and
He lived.
that was in 1991.
Yeah, he was, of course, he was beaten, but he survived. Um, Eric Garner was outside of a store illegally selling CDs, and they put a chokehold on him, trying to apprehend him. He's a very large man, and so the only way they could apprehend him was to choke him, and they killed him for
Yep, and
selling CDs.
that was in 2014.
Yeah. Um, George Floyd is probably the most current, most famous one, where we saw a police officer put his knee on the neck of him and basically suffocated him. Um, I guess the rest of it is you hear, former President Donald Trump, talking about how he sees good people on both sides. We hear people yelling out "white power," and then you see the tempered side of it when Bobby Kennedy, who was on his campaign at the time, learns of Martin Luther King's assassination and goes and breaks the news to a predominantly black crowd and tells them that Martin Luther King's been assassinated. He also then says, there's two ways we can go with this. We can, we can be calm about it. We try to figure this out, or we can try to destroy each other. We have two sides here. And he says, in case you're wondering, my brother, John F. Kennedy, was murdered by what they was purported to be a white person, and white people were behind it. And I could have done a lot of things with that. I could have become violent. I could have said all kinds of things, but yet I'm trying to be a role model and show the way to peace. Of course, ultimately, Bobby Kennedy was assassinated as well. Um,
So, what about the music that's on the song?
well, it's just a beat that was put together by a really good friend of mine, Luis Conti, who is a world-renowned hand percussionist. And Luis is on another track that we'll listen to later on. He's the number one call in the world for hand percussion. He's been with James Taylor the last 25 years, and he's on a lot of movies. And I had the honor to teach him when I was at Los Angeles City College back in the early 70s. He was there. He was studying to be an X-ray technician,